Realism. It's the dominant art style in gaming, and it's easy to see why. It offers the ability to experience aspects of reality that we otherwise can't. However, there's a catch. This visual fidelity can often overshadow a game's ability to make me feel something. In the indie space, where budgets are tighter, developers are forced to get creative. Realism may be the closest we can get to physically transporting someone. It's these other art styles that often create the most profound emotional journeys. Gris is a 2D platformer that uses its beautiful watercolors, geometric shapes, and abstract ideas to take you through a journey of grief. Through each stage of the game, you add a new color to the game's palette. The colors, the art, and the world design all come together to represent each step through the 5 stages of grief. As sad as it might sound, my favourite stage of Gris was depression. Until this point, I hadn't thought much about what the themes of the game were. I was just enjoying some simple platforming with beautiful art. The beginning of the blue path led me below the game's central hub. When I found the entrance, I had no idea how deep it would lead me. At first, it started slowly. A small staircase turned to a small drop, and I found myself zigzagging my way down large shafts with no way to return. After another long fall, I started to notice more water accumulating. First it was puddles, but before long I found myself surrounded by an underground ocean. In the center of this ocean there was a pink turtle. I gather some glowing orbs, and he assists in my journey to the darkness below. We might have only been together for 10 seconds, but I'm thankful to not be alone in the darkness for once. As some light returns, he drops me off and allows me to finish the journey on my own. The light is coming from an opening below us. I swim to investigate, and I begin to fall out of the water that is magically suspended in place. I fall a long way, landing on the head of a statue. I find my way into its palm to unlock a new color. Yellow. A large, inky black form starts to engulf myself and the statue. The form starts to give chase, taking the shape of an eel as I try my hardest to escape. I manage to escape into a dark and narrow tunnel. Breathing a sigh of relief, I swim further into the dark and winding cave. Yellow glowing plants on the cave walls light my path. The lights start to lead me downwards once more, and the darkness creeps in again. Out of the darkness, the eel springs a trap. I swim upwards as fast as I can, but it's impossible to escape. It opens its jaws and begins closing around me. A pink glow emerges from the eel's mouth, and in an instant its head tears apart. My turtle friend has come to my rescue. When the coast is clear, the turtle drops me off again and sends me on my way. I don't think I have seen a piece of media depict depression in such a holistic way. First, it starts slowly, but eventually you slip deeper and deeper. The deeper you get, the more it feels like you're drowning and you'll never find a way out. If you manage to reach out to someone for help, they can ultimately help you understand and guide you through the difficult journey. Gris uses its art masterfully, not only to seduce you into the experience, but to represent the emotions it wants you to feel. Passage only takes 5 minutes to finish, and in those brief 5 minutes you will experience an entire lifetime. If you haven't played it, I suggest you do before you watch this. The first time I opened Passage, I was taken aback with how little of the screen this game took up. It almost feels like a parody of cinematic tropes, with large black bars leaving only a strip of pixelated game world visible. Pixels in the vague shape of a man stand at the far left of the screen, and the path ahead is blurry. I assume my role and begin to move forward, every step increasing my score in the top right. A cluster of red, pale pink and green pixels lay ahead, and the further I walked, the more detailed this figure became. It's a lady, with red hair and a pale green dress. We meet and immediately we connect. Journeying on, we see a chest below us, but we're unable to squeeze through the gap. We spend a little time backtracking and find a way through. Opening the chest, we're greeted by a puff of black smoke. What a waste of time. At this point, I notice that we're continually shifting further towards the right, and both the far ends are now more clear than they were before. We come across a couple more chests. Some, much like the first, fill the air with dust and smoke. Others, however, reward us with a blue star, shooting our score upwards considerably. It took until I started losing my hair and hers started to turn grey to realise that we had passed the midway point. More time has passed than lay ahead of us. In the blink of an eye, my partner was replaced by a tombstone. I paused at the tombstone, trying to figure out if it was something that I had done. I dragged myself forward. Each step felt heavier than the last. Her tombstone began to blur the further away I went. I met a similar fate not long after, and my tombstone stands alone at the far right of the screen. Some people might think that Passage's minimalist design holds it back, but I think that it's the only way it can exist. The more pixels or polygons that are added to the protagonist's face, the more defined the character becomes. Passage's message is so universal, if the character was more defined, it would become the character's story and not mine. In the game, when my partner prevented me from getting to a crate, I felt frustrated. Exactly what I would feel if I had to give up on something to benefit my real life partner. When I saw my character starting to go bald, I started to notice the passing of time. Every moment that passed was one that I wouldn't get back. Passage gave me a midlife crisis. A familiar feeling hit me when my partner suddenly turned to a tombstone and my character was slowed. I went through all 5 stages of grief in the span of a second. All of this is because I was able to see myself in the vague collection of pixels on the screen. Over the past 6 months, I've been playing games I've avoided because they don't look realistic enough or have an art style that I'm not familiar with. It has been the most enjoyable and meaningful period of gaming that I've ever experienced. It's easy to fall into the trap of focusing on the fidelity that a game showcases. Impeccable animation, high quality textures and detailed environments will always be impressive to me, but none of them have managed to move me quite like a small cluster of pixels and a handful of watercolours.